International platform artist Leah Hayden Cassidy, known through her social media platforms as Hayden Cassidy, is Irish-born but currently based in London, UK. Hayden specializes in men's hair, merging techniques from every aspect of barbering and gaining inspiration from her experiences of and exposure to different countries and cultures. She's taken to the stage throughout Europe, Asia, and America along some of the top barbers of our generation, always striving to further her knowledge and master new techniques. She began her career in Ireland amidst the boom of the industry, taking influence from barbers from the US barbering and hairdressing scenes. She's also established a signature clean look, which is appreciated and loved around the world. Hayden has worked in collaboration with magazines, photographers, musicians, and other creatives to manifest looks which fuse fashion with today's barbering industry, always challenging and furthering her talents and artistic vision. Hayden is passionate about sharing her knowledge through tutorials and by creating an education platform for barbers to follow. She's also built a very strong reputation as an educator for a global audience. Most recently, she's collaborated with our beloved Andis company, where she's the global educator and dropped 12 long-form haircutting tutorials and videos that are available for free via andis.com and Andis Company's official YouTube. All right, you've been up to a couple things, Hayden. Welcome to Volume Up by the Tease.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm so excited to get chatting and talk to you guys.
Wonderful. So quite a background, but we're going to start at the beginning. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Okay, yeah. Well, obviously my name is Hayden. I'm, as I said in my bio there, I'm originally from Ireland. In terms of like my background in styling and barbering, I've been a barber about 8 to 9 years. And it kind of started by realistically, just by mistake. I never kind of had an interest massively in hair, not that I kind of knew of before I started in the barbering industry. But, you know, I grew up in Dublin in Ireland, and then I actually ended up going to university in America. I was on a football scholarship in Georgia. So I was there for 3 years. At the age of 17, I flew over. I went there. I came back after 3 years because I broke my leg, unfortunately, in a tackle. And that kind of cut that career down. So I got back to Dublin and basically just didn't know what to do, where to start. I wasn't really someone that was that into university or into studying. I was always much more creative. And I think when I got back, I just kind of wanted to find something that I could express my creativity, but also, you know, I love traveling, so I could get to kind of explore the world with. And a friend actually just said, why don't you try barbering? I think you'd be really good at it. And obviously, anywhere you go in the world, people always need a haircut. So that's literally how I got introduced to the barbering industry.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. That's quite a story. So tell me a little bit about like the path to where you're at would be great.
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, I started out as a junior barber in Dublin, and I started out in a barbershop that was at the time probably like, it was a really well known, it was an up and coming barbershop. It was one of the first to be like the more barbershop salon kind of cool vibe, and that was coming around. There was like a wave of, you know, barbershops that took their time, maybe 45-minute appointments, and took their time. And it wasn't just, you know, before that, previously to that was probably just like, you just go in, get your hair cut, and then that's done. You know, you have a queue of people waiting up. So this was a barbershop that had started appointments, and you know, it was this new generation. I'd been doing a few haircuts in my kitchen, as I think every barber starts off doing, using YouTube, just kind of trying to follow and get any cousins, anybody I could find to get into the chair and let me practice on them. And I'd done that for about 4 months while working another job in a bar. And I kind of got to the kind of pathway of going, okay, I was teaching dance as well. So I was still educating, I was coaching, I was doing a number of things, trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. And it got to the stage where if I really wanted to pursue one thing, I needed to put everything into it. And I decided basically on barbering. So I chanced my arm. I went into this cool barbershop, and it was full of males, like a really kind of cool barbershop. And I walked in and I basically just chanced my arm and just asked them would they give me a job. and I can talk quite well, and I can talk for myself quite well. So I ended up charming them into giving me a job as a junior barber. And I started there, and I worked alongside some amazing barbers and hairdresser trained kind of stylists as well. And I worked in that shop for about 2 years. Within 6 months, I'd already kind of graduated to go onto the shop floor, and I'd already started cutting, and I had built a busy column. And it was an amazing couple of years to really start in my hometown, like back in Dublin, knowing all my friends and actually being able to like be a busy barber. That was the goal. From that, then I kind of decided, I got itchy feet, and I decided I wanted to travel. And I thought, as a barber, I was only going to learn so much in my own environment, in my own area, and my own community. So I really thought to push myself to the next level and to try and, work on different hair textures and work with different people, I really needed to kind of put myself out of my comfort zone and find somewhere that I could do that and kind of just not be who everybody knew me to be, just go and just immerse myself in something different. So I got offered a job to go to Berlin to work for a barbershop out there. And I just took it. I packed my suitcase. I didn't know anybody over there. And I just flew over and started there. And I think from there, that's really how I kind of started to progress, because I felt like, the people I was working with while I was with a junior, although I loved them, they weren't kind of looking over my shoulders. I was able to just be me and just push myself, and just try different things and try different hairstyles, try different hair textures. And at that stage, then I started to kind of build a bit of a social media following. Not massively, but like a little bit back then. It was like, 7 years ago. So I was kind of trying to use that as a portfolio it was actually just to attract clients, but it kind of spiraled a little bit. People knew I had a bit of experience in educating. So I got the opportunity to work in some small kind of events and shows around Europe and around the UK as like an educator, to go on stage and just do new trends. And to be honest, I didn't really feel like I was that ready at that soon into my career. But I thought, if I don't take this chance, I'm gonna kick myself. I need to just put myself out there. If I fail, I fail, but let me just try it. So I did that, and it went well. It went really well. And I think from there, I just continued to push myself, continued to build myself. And a year or two down the line, got approached by amidst, and that kind of just spiraled everything into another dimension.
That's amazing. Where do you think that drive came from within you? Like childhood, parents, mentors around you?
Yeah, like, I think, I think my personality type, I think I've always had a drive in me. And I think my mom has always been, my mom's quite a creative person. She's an artist, and she's always like really said to me, like, don't do anything you're not happy with. Like, whatever you do, whatever it is, just make sure you're 100% happy and you put everything into it. Because if you're happy doing what you love, then you will want to put everything into it. So I think from an early age, that's why I never really felt pressured to go down the academic route or go and do a certain sort of thing, because I had that support that I was able to kind of just go, okay, what do I like and what can I do well? So I think that, and then also being quite competitive, I played sport from like the age of like 4 years old. So I always wanted to be the best at whatever I put my mind to. And I think, barbering just gave me the opportunity to be artistic, creative, but also push myself to learn more and do more. And I thought, what, if I want to do this, and if I want to do exactly what I love for a longevity of time, then I'm going to push myself, and I'm going to make sure that not necessarily stage, not necessarily social media. I just wanted to make sure that I was able to cut anybody who walked and sat in my chair. That was the ultimate goal. And that's where it kind of came from.
That's amazing. Why was it specifically barbering? Because we know that there's a lot of opportunities in, creative fields or even in the professional beauty industry, right? Why barbering specifically?
Yeah, do you know what? I think we do it a little bit different over in the UK and Europe. And, we don't have like a beauty school that we go to for a few years. Over here, like, there's pros and cons to it, but it's not as regulated as it is over in the US. So anybody can really pick up a clippers or scissors and start cutting hair. So for me, I felt, you know, like, I mean, if anybody ever sees my social media or myself, like I care least about my own hair, and I always hated to kind of go into a salon or get anything done. And just because, I don't know, I think maybe it was because I was always quite athletic, quite sporty. I was always one of, like, you know, the boys like going into things. So I felt like almost the environment of a barbershop suited my personality and my style, but then also actually going, like, looking at the actual hair aspect and the techniques of it. I think, you know, with shorter hair and with fades and with anything, any, like, not just men's, but any styles that are quite short, you can see so much. So a lot of it is quite visual, you know, a lot, like if I make a mistake on a fade, I can see that straight away. So I think that challenge really kind of ignited a flame in me. Like, I wanted to do the best. I wanted to make the cleanest fade, and I wanted to, you know, do everything. And I think the diversity of different hairstyles just appealed to me, that I really wanted to push myself and learn in it. And then also going hand in hand with the environment of a barbershop. I think things have changed now, but when I first started, I think that was the thing that really appealed to me, you know, and that kind of artistic, creative side. Hairdressers have it as well, barbers have it, but I think ultimately it was like, I felt when I was fading out hair, I was almost shading and creating like this shade and, you know, picture of what I was doing.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you for explaining that. So you touched on a little bit the differences, right, across different countries, you know, UK versus US. How do you feel barbering is different? You know, educate our US based audience, for example. How is it different there versus here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of differences. I think nowadays, I think there's more similarities than there was when I kind of first started out, because of the likes of social media. You know, you get so much inspiration across the globe that you're constantly inspired by what people are doing in Brazil, in Asia, in, you know, Canada, US. You're always inspired by seeing these trends or these pictures. But I think ultimately, I think a big factor is, you know, especially in London here, the barbering in London is very influenced by hairstyling, so hairdressing as well. So, you know, we have Fidel Sassoon, that was always one of the, like, prominent kind of people in the hair industry in general that came from London. And I think that has always carried through in terms of, like, barbering, in terms of styles, in terms of, like, everything like that. I think barbering in the US, for me, when I go over, was always more fade based, more clipper work based. Whereas I feel like over here, it's a fusion of both. But for a long time, you were just getting old school barbers doing scissor over comb and, you know, using their scissors and comb and not a clippers. And I feel like that has influenced style a little bit. And probably because, you know, like I said before, like, it's not, you don't have to go to a beauty school, and you don't have to go through that process over here. I think there's pros and cons to that. Like I said, I mean, I know people over in the US that might complain that, you know, they have to go through all of that before they get to a certain level. I think there's pros in being able to go through a school system like that, because obviously you learn so much about sanitization and things like that. Whereas over here, you know, that's probably lacking a bit in your average barber shop that you go into. So, I mean, if you nitpick different parts of the industry, but on a whole, I think maybe there's more of a blurred line between hairstyling and barbering in the US, in Europe. Whereas I feel like in the US, it's very, anytime I've gone, it's very much barbers are barbers and stylists are stylists, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, you know, we take a lot of influence from, you know, the UK, certainly, in the barbering world. And I do think that there is sort of a little bit of a division of church and state, right? With the stylists and barbers. Do you think that there's a stigma around barbering or a rift between barbering and hairdressing in the UK?
You know what? Like, yeah, I mean, this is a great question. And it's something that I kind of think of myself, and I kind of, you know, like, if I'm talking, even if I always get that question off my clients, like, what's the difference between a hairdresser and a barber? And I'm like, you know, and you're trying to explain it. And ultimately, hair is hair, okay? Like that's ultimately the reason. But obviously, you know, if you're a trained hairdresser and you're a trained barber, you have different techniques that you're trained in. Like barbering is going to be a lot of kind of shave work, fade work. Hairdressing is might be a lot of color and a lot of styles. So there is a slight division in it. And I found when I was becoming a barber, a lot of the times when I'd say I'm a barber, people would be like, oh, like if they were coming from a hairdressing background, they might be like, oh, you're just kind of just a barber, you know. But if you were a hairdresser, if you were coming from a hairdresser background, I think barbers really, I mean, especially as the fusion started to come with hairdressing and barbering, you know, if I worked beside someone that was previously a hairdresser, I'd be like, yes, I can find these techniques. I can know what graduation is. I can know what layering is. I can pick this person's brain. I think now everything is getting blurred, and which is beautiful, I think, because, you know, I have clients in my shop. Ultimately, like, you know, a few years ago, there was people in barbershops. There was a few kind of famous ones over in Europe that were like men only, gentlemen only kind of barbershops. Whereas I think nowadays, if you had a sign outside your barbershop saying that, like, there would be uproar. You'd never do that. You welcome anybody into your hair. So I think, you know, now I've started to actually say to different people, yes, I'm a proud barber. I'm such a proud barber. But ultimately, I'm a short hair specialist because I don't just do, you know, shaves and fades. I can do everything. And everybody wants something different as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting question, and I think like a lot of people will have different answers to that question. And I think that the more we're going into the industries, I think the more we're finding out different knowledges. Like, I mean, when I came to London first, I was really introduced to the hairdressing scene over here, and it was something I was never used to before. I was used to barber events, barber battles, you know, going in, and it's actually such a different world when you cross over and you come in, and, you know, there's a lot of barber events where, hairdressing events where, you know, everybody's usually black tie. It's all very classy. And I was like, what is this world? But I mean, luckily enough, I've been really welcomed in both worlds. And I think people now are more interested in both aspects and both sides of the industry.
Wonderful. Is there anything in particular that you would say to a young woman who is thinking of getting into barbering?
Yeah, I mean, I think, do you know what? I think now, like I always said, my ultimate thing was that, like, my hands are the exact same as any male that is around there. Like, I can do whatever any guy can do. Like, I'm 100% certain of that. I think the only thing that sometimes can be a little bit intimidating is if you go into that barbershop environment that you're not used to, and it is very kind of masculine and energy, boisterous, you know, sometimes that can be a bit off-putting with people. And yeah, you do, I think as a female barber, you do have to have a bit of a thick skin, and a bit, you do have to be used to kind of that banter, or, you know, it's something that not everybody is equipped with. But I think the biggest thing is to just remember that whatever your skills or techniques you can do, you can learn, you can do, and you can do as good as anybody else. And I think the biggest thing is, I always say, is go in with confidence. Just go in with it. Even if you don't have confidence, fake the confidence. Just go in and be as confident as you can. Because people, once you're confident, I think people, you know, if you come into a barbershop that's maybe eight guys who are cutting hair and one female, right, which is generally sometimes what it is like. If you go in as that really confident female that knows that they're good at what they do, they're going to smash it, they're going to do well, you know, people will lay off and respect that a little bit more than you go in, you're shy, you're timid. And, you know, even if that's your character, I think it's easier for people to kind of put you into that corner as a female. But I think it's just about being as confident as you can.
What is your favorite part about being a barber?
There's so many aspects to being a barber. Like, I literally count my blessings every day. I come into work and I'm like, I actually don't even feel like I'm working. This is the best job in the world. Even the long days, even when I'm back to back with clients, you know, whatever it is. I absolutely love the career. I love what I do. And I think one of the biggest things that I really realized, and it was only really over the pandemic, it was over COVID, I realized one of my favorite things about my job is the connections that I have on a day-to-day basis with so many beautiful clients that I have. I have a one-chair studio right now, which was kind of off the back of COVID. I decided to go and just have a chair on my own in a studio in London. And I feel like this has really allowed me to dive deep into that one-to-one experience with my clients. So my conversations alone are incredible in this little room. You know, like I have the best conversations ever. I form amazing connections, and each client is like a friend. And I think as all hairdressers and barbers, whoever you are, you build that relationship with your clients that over COVID, when that was gone, I realized that it's not only the hair that I love, it's that connection that I love.
Yeah.
And that's what really inspires me to come in. I don't want to miss a day of work, not because of money. I don't want to miss a day of work because I want to make sure that my clients are looked after and that haircut before their wedding is taken care of. And, you know, the news from their holiday, I want to hear about it. So I want to go in and I want to be present in that. So I think the connections that we make, I think 100% is probably one of my favorite things about barbering.
Wonderful. I love that. Tell me a little bit about your product collection.
Yeah, so I think over COVID, it was crazy because I don't know what it was. I think over in the UK, we had it probably a little bit worse than a lot of the barbers and hairstylists I saw over in the US. And over COVID, like I didn't work for 8 months. 8 months, I could not go hair. Obviously, as a self-employed artist over here, you don't have any income. And from working back to back, educating around the world, fully booked days, to going from absolutely nothing was crazy. I mean, the first couple of weeks I was going insane. So during that time, I decided, right, I can do one of two things. I can sit and complain about it and just allow it to happen, or I can look at other avenues of how, when we come out of it, I can be as strong as I can. So during that time and during that 8 months, I decided to, first of all, look for a studio space that I could create my own vibe in. I built my own website. That was very difficult, coming from someone that is never used to being behind a laptop. And then the other thing was products, you know, like I decided I'd research, I'd have the time to really go through products and decide exactly what products I want to put out there and how I want to use them. And ultimately my product collection, I have 3 products, that's it. Three very simple products that I use. And for me, the ultimate thing was, 1, they smell good, so they smell amazing. And 2, they are versatile for each individual client I have. I have so many different clients with different textured hair. So I wanted to make sure that every product that I had, I was able to use on each client I have. So I have a really natural sea salt spray that's just super light and super easy for any of those clients that don't really want to do much to their hair and don't want to style their hair. I have really nice paste, which is kind of like a creamy formula. It's a little bit of moisture in it. I put a lot of Asian hair as well, so it will seep into that thick hair and that density, and it will really kind of go through the hair. And then volumizing powder, which literally anybody who doesn't like the feeling of paste, doesn't like the feeling of a gritty sea salt spray, can go for a volumizing powder, and it will just be a light, nice product that they can just throw in and just get on with your day. So everything can be used together, and I kind of worked to make sure that it wasn't overcomplicated with the products I use. You know, you see a lot of ranges that have 12 different things, all with different names on it, and you're like, wait, like even me looking for my hair, I'm like, there's too much option out there. So, and you know, I knew that clients coming in, generally, like it's different, I think, for hairdressers, but clients coming into a barbershop, they don't want to go through, you know, look fantastic or go through any of these pages to try and find the right product for their hair type. They want recommendations from their barber. So ideally, the best place to have your own products is in your barbershop, because most of your clients are going to end up using them.
Right. Was that a welcome addition to your like product offerings when you created your own?
I mean, do you know what? Like I've never really worked with any brands that were like wet brands. I have worked with them on the back of an event or on the back of an education. And I don't necessarily take not take them anymore. Like, I have my products, I love my products, but I also love a lot of other products, you know.
Yeah.
I wear a lot of other products, and sometimes for my clients I'll use something different. So I don't have any affiliations with any products. I'm open to use any of them. But I don't necessarily, I think that, like I said before, there's so many products out there. I don't feel like it would be right for me to say these products are the best in the world, because you know what can happen next week, something else can come out, you know, and then that might be just as good. So I feel like tools and equipment is a little bit different, because products, you know, there's so much innovative things coming out nowadays, and there's so many different products that I want to be greedy. I want to try them all.
Yeah, right. Okay, you mentioned tools, which is a great segue into your partnership with Andis. Talk to me about that connection. How did that happen? What are you doing for the brand?
My Andis connection is like, it's been amazing. I've worked with Andis. I actually just noticed there. So I was looking back on like one of those memories, and it came up that on the 25th of April 2018, I was first introduced to the Andis education team. So nearly coming up to 6 years, which it has been incredible, you know. Funny story how I got affiliated with them. I was at ISSE, which is obviously a convention in America, and I was there working there and visiting there with another brand. I was working on stage, and basically I had obviously a different accents than everybody else around there, and I ended up having a pretty nice crowd around me that I think just attracted people over to what I was saying and the way I like to educate. You know, I like to be quite real and just chat to people. And I think at the time, the Andis education manager kind of came over and was like, wow, like, this is amazing. Like, the way you speak to a crowd, and like, it was an incredible introduction. And I think a few weeks later, I got an email to say, we'd love to kind of have you on board the team. And we're looking at expanding our UK team. So would you be interested? At the time, Andis, there wasn't as many kind of tools available internationally with Andis. So I kind of just said to them, listen, send me over a few tools. I'll see how I like them, and let's see where we can go from there. I obviously absolutely love them. And it was a no-brainer really to come on board the team. So that was 6 years ago. And, you know, today I'm still a global educator. I work with them a lot. It's been really nice to be a part of a company and a team that not only see you as educators, but like the family that we have and the connection we have with each other has been incredible. Like, I'm not just like close to the other educators. I'm close with the marketing team. I'm close with the product, like the people who create the products, the engineers. All of us are constantly in kind of talks and communication with each other. And I think to have that in such a big brand and such a quality brand has been incredible, because it gives you that insight into, and respect as well. You know, I know they're going to listen to me. They're going to listen to me if I say, you know, can you try and make this for me? Like, can you try and make a tool that I'll do that? I know the engineers will go on that, and they want to get the feedback, and they want to try and create something good for the industry. And I think being a part of a company that really supports the industry and pushes the industry has been incredible, and it's given me amazing opportunities.
Yeah. And I mean, 100-year-old company, family run business. Yeah. I mean,
I love it.
That in itself says a lot. Yeah. And certainly know the co-presidents, Laura Andis and Matt Andis, and they're just a top-notch team from the top down and down up, right? I mean, they're wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, like you hit the nail on the head there where you said, like, it's a family-run company. Yeah. It's 100 years old. Like, the only thing that can last 100 years is quality. And exactly. It is family, you know what I mean? And I think that's something that I'm so proud to be a part of. Like, whenever, you know, as a barber or a hairdresser, it's very easy to kind of get trapped up and jumping on board with brands and different kind of people. And I think ultimately for me, like, I always have my values and my ethos is I never want to stand there and promote something that I don't truly believe in. And I think the values and the ethos that Andis have replicate what I have, what I believe in, you know. And I think finding a match like that can be very hard nowadays in the industry. And I think, I'm so glad that I found it 6 years ago, and it's probably been, the chunk of my career. I've been with the amidst family. So, I mean, they are literally like family to me now.
Yeah. Incredible. So you just released a video tutorial collection with Andis. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would love to know how this came to be.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I've been working on tutorials for again, off the back of COVID. I realized that I think online education was super important for people to stay motivated, and I had a lot of messages from different kind of barbers and stylists to say, how can we, like, junior barbers coming in, starting their career in COVID, a very hard thing to do. So I was like, how can I do that? And I had already had a few tutorials out there, but I realized, especially even from my experience, like, I learned off the back of YouTube, and I always believed in, if you want to find knowledge and if you want to find education, like, it shouldn't be so expensive and out of your reach. So I really was passionate to create quality tutorials for everybody to be able to access. And I think that is ultimately the reason why that idea came around. I work closely with Angie, who's our education manager. And I had the idea through COVID. We had a lot of meetings, we kept in touch. And I had an idea to kind of come about of creating these tutorials that can be that anybody can access. Angie loved it. Angie's so amazing. She's always like your biggest cheer, your biggest supporter. So she's like, look, if you have an idea, I trust it, I believe in you, let's do it and let's create it. So we started working on these tutorials, and as soon as I was able to cut hair, again, out of lockdown, I decided to get, friends, different people, models, whoever I could, to come in and sit with me for a couple of hours. I got a really good videographer that I knew would create really high quality content that was able to almost look not just educational, but cinematic as well. Because I know myself, if I'm watching something, I don't necessarily, I need to be I want to be kind of inspired by not only what the person is doing, but the whole aesthetic of everything, right? Like, hairdressers and barbers love aesthetics. We love creativity. So I feel like for me, it was important to have a nice chilled music behind it, like something that was cinematic, something that was easy to understand, not too long, because I don't think any of us have the attention span to watch something that's 40, 50 minutes, So having these kind of bite-sized tutorials that give you just enough techniques and enough education, and also tool knowledge as well. You want to know what you're using, why you're using. Something can look amazing. Our Gold Masters looks incredible, but you need to know exactly why you're using and what's the best way to utilize that. So I feel like off the back of Andis, it was a great partnership because we were able to put out that information, but also you were able to get so much more from them videos. And I think, it was a couple of years in the making. I still am creating more, and I'm so excited that they're finally out there, and they're available for anybody to watch.
Wonderful. How were the styles selected? Walk me through that process.
So again, Angie gave me free range. She gave me free range to be able to create whatever I wanted. I think, the only kind of guidelines she had was just, make sure there's a bit of diversity in there. So different kind of haircuts, it's not all the same haircut. And I think what I really wanted to do was I wanted to fuse standard classic barbering with creative cuts as well. And obviously a little bit of influence from trends and the places that I go to. I wanted to incorporate as much versatility as I could, so that when you go on there, if you're a barber who just likes to do phase and shape ups, you can watch that, but you can also get something else alongside it, and if you want to do a creative cut, again, you have that, but you also have something a little bit more basic as well in there. I just really wanted to make sure that with the styles that I created, a lot of them are looks that I think will last. Like, they're not really going out of fashion. I think they're, when something lives on the likes of YouTube, I think you kind of have to have something timeless. So everything I did, I made sure there was a nice variety, so that that if they're going to live on there forever, that there's going to be someone in 20 years that's going to be able to go on there and see something they like, So free range I got, which was amazing, and thankfully, there's like, I have a lot of beautiful clients that I was able to create them with.
That's amazing. What are some of the techniques that people can find in the collection? Anything unique and different that you want to talk about there?
Yeah, I mean, there's like the way I like to cut hair is quite different. I've taken a lot of inspiration on my own. The way I like to cut hair has been kind of a mixture and a cocktail of every different place I've visited, every different barber I've worked alongside, and I think throughout them tutorials, what you'll find is a real range of techniques to choose from and to learn, and also working with different textures of hair in different ways that are not just the normal way. And one of the biggest techniques that I think people love to see is I work with a lot of reverse clipper movements to remove weight. Which is not necessarily, it's a technique that's used a lot on textured hair, but when it comes to like straight hair, it's not used that often on it. So you'll see a lot of that weight removal with reverse clipper movements, and you'll also see a lot of kind of longer cuts that I'll cut with clippers as well, which is obviously not something that you see every day. So again, there's different types of fading, there's tapering, there's creative cuts, and there's design work, shape ups. I think I kind of like make sure that there's enough there that whoever wants to try something new, they can. And for me, I believe that I'm not putting tutorials out there standing on stage to say, look, this is how you have to do it. This is, that's not my point. That's not what I'm about. What I want to do is I want to stand there and show you things that will just give you a different perspective on your own style. Like, I don't want you to imitate me. I want you to take something from that video and then merge it with your own techniques. Because as barbers and stylists, we're all individual. We all cut completely differently. It's not necessarily about doing the exact same haircut, but if you take one or two pieces that can help you along the way of your barbering career, well, that's perfect.
I love that. Where can people find the series, the tutorial?
So the series can be found. It can be found on the Andis Clippers website, so andis.com. You can find it there on the schooling site. The 12 videos are there, and you can also find it on the Andis YouTube channel as well, which I don't know if anybody on this podcast has never been on the Andis YouTube site, there's so much information on that. There's so many amazing videos. So don't just look at my 12 videos, have a scroll and see what else is out there. There's some amazing videos from Kenny Duncan, who's one of our educators. There's some amazing, just even simple tool videos that will give you a bit more information and knowledge into how to use your tools, how to clean them. There's so much amazing information on there. So those are the two sites that you can find them on.
Amazing. Okay. So we all know that you're competitive, right? And you get stuff done. So what is next for you outside of this series? Like, what's your next step?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly trying to do something else. I mean, I don't know how, my schedules are crazy. When I look at my calendars, I'm like, how can I do this? But I mean, I get it done. I end up getting it done. I've been traveling different events over the last few months in Europe. So I just got back from Barcelona, where there was a barber battle there that I judged and I demonstrated on stage. The week before then it was Dusseldorf. The week before then it was Croatia. So it's literally quite constant. I'll continue to kind of educate. I have a trip planned to over to the US a few times. I'm going to CT Barber Expo. I'll also be at Premier Orlando. And there's an event that I'll do in Miami as well with Joshua Mulligan, who's an amazing barber as well. So there's a number of different things I'm doing over the next few months. But to be honest, I think I'm just gonna, I never like to set myself. It's crazy. I think after breaking my leg, I realized that you can never look too far ahead, all right? Because if you have everything planned out and your goals, okay, my 6-month goal, my year goal, my 5-year goal, if you have that planned out, things can change. You know, paths can change, desires can change, passions can change. And I feel like if you don't then achieve whatever that goal was, you kind of lose that expectation of yourself. You know, you let yourself down a little bit. So when I broke my leg, I realized I'm just going to live each day as it comes, each week as it comes, and take on things that make me happy, but also that I can feel fulfilled with. So whatever comes, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more opportunities, but I'm going to take them. I'm going to push myself forward. I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone and just keep growing, keep learning, and keep enjoying this career in this industry.
I love it. I love your passion. It's totally contagious. It's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Now we're going to get to this little section of the pod where we call it the T's Quick Takes. And so we're going to ask you a couple questions to get to know you better outside of your barbering skills in the industry. So what was your first ever product that you owned, beauty or hair? In that category.
That's a hard one. To be honest, probably if it's beauty, probably like a tinted moisturizer when I was like, about 12 or something. Yeah. I still don't own many hair products for myself, so it's definitely not a hair product.
That's crazy. Okay. Are you a superstitious person? And if so, about what?
I'm not crazy superstitious, but I think coming from Ireland, we grow up with a lot of superstitious tales. So, like if I see a magpie on its own, you always have to salute to it. I don't know why, but it's just like little things like that, random things like don't walk under a ladder, if you crack a mirror, make sure that you bury a piece underground so that it gets away from it. Yeah, it gets away from any of the negative energy. So, I mean, I'd say I'm not superstitious, but I think if you grow up in Ireland, anybody will understand that there's always, old wives' tales or stories there from grandparents that you kind of have to go by. So yeah, probably a little bit, but more culturally than actually I want to be.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that about the culture. Who would you have play a biopic of your life? Who's starring in the movie of you?
Oh, that's a very good question. I probably don't know. I would say probably like, I don't know. I'd probably, if I was still alive, I'd probably play it myself.
All right. I think you would actually.
Yeah, I think I would.
That sounds about right. Oh, okay. This is going to be a good one for our US based listeners. What do you consider the ultimate comfort food?
Oh, the ultimate comfort food, right? Like I love food. I love all types of food. I'm not picky. I'm the least picky eater. Put something in front of me and I will eat it. I'll enjoy it. But I think the biggest comfort food for me will probably be like, we have this dish in Dublin that's really like, it only comes from Dublin and Ireland. It's the only place it comes from. And it's called a coddle. So CODDLE. And it's basically a stew that's made. And, on winter's days when, growing up in Ireland, when usually every day of the year is probably raining and it's quite miserable and cold. If you came home from school and smelt a stew or a coddle, you'd know that you're in for a nice, cozy evening and comfort food.
That is so charming. All right, last one. Say you are on a deserted island and you can only bring 3 beauty products with you or hair care products. What are you bringing?
Okay, so 3 products. Am I cutting hair on this deserted island or am I on my own?
You're on your own. You're there.
I'm on my own. Okay,
no
so
one's
clippers. I know needs a haircut. I don't need clippers. I don't need scissors. 3 products I will probably bring is like a nice like leave-in conditioner that I can just kind of keep my hair moisturized in. Right now the one I'm using is like Way. Have you heard of Way products?
Of course.
Really nice.
Yep.
So yeah, like a light little leave-in conditioner. I'd probably definitely my tinted moisturizer. I'm not 12 anymore, but it's still the thing that I use all the time. And probably the last thing I would use is, I'm pretty simple. I think I'd be okay with just them 2.
Woo,
but,
okay.
maybe a little bit of like some sort of SPF for my lips.
Okay.
We need that on a deserted island. There's a lot of sun out there.
You're gonna need that. And you know what? I thought you were gonna say your 3 products, because what a perfect intro to
Perfect
those
combination, but if I'm not cutting hair and there's nobody to style, I think I'd be happy with those 3.
I love it. Wonderful. Well, tell everyone where they can find you and follow you and all the amazing things that you're doing.
So you can find me social media. You can find me on Hayden Cassidy. So it's Hayden_Cassidy. That's my Instagram. My TikTok is just Leah Hayden Cassidy. My website is www.haydencassidy.com. And I think that's it. Yeah, YouTube is Hayden Cassidy Hair as well. So there's also more tutorials on there as well. So anybody who likes the amidst tutorials, there's a few on that as well they can find. And I'm going to start uploading a few more on that. But yeah, if anybody's listening, anybody has any other questions, they'd like to pick my brain, feel free to contact me on any of them and I'll get back to you. Have a nice chat.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure having you on. What a story. I love it. Very inspiring.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to following your success.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to all the team. And I'm so excited to continue and hopefully have more opportunities. So thank you guys.